Some franchises become classics because they introduce very good characters. Other ones become pretty good because they create worlds people never want to leave. But every once in a while a game arrives that just changes how players think about movement itself. It doesn't simply ask you to reach the next platform or defeat the next enemy. Instead, it makes every jump, every wall run, every swing, every climb feel graceful enough that simply moving through the world becomes its own reward. By the way, this is practically the game that invented wall running. And that is exactly what Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time accomplished back in 2003. See, long before parkour became a standard feature in modern action games, Ubisoft created an adventure where momentum mattered just as much as combat. The prince wasn't the strongest warrior in gaming, nor was he protected by heavy armor or magical shields. He survived because he was agile, quick, constantly in motion, running across walls, vaulting over enemies, climbing ancient ruins, and rewinding time. More importantly, many of those ideas would later influence entire franchises, including Ubisoft's own Assassin's Creed. If you think about it, that's why people never stop asking for a proper remake of this thing. The journey toward that remake, however, has been probably one of the most unusual development stories in recent gaming history. This was originally announced in 2020. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time Remake was intended to bring the beloved classic to modern platforms. Following criticisms of its initial reveal and several development setbacks, Ubisoft then transformed the project to Ubisoft Montreal and essentially restarted development from the ground up. For a while, everything appeared to be moving forward again, with Ubisoft confirming that the project had entered full production and was being rebuilt while staying faithful to the original adventure. Then, unfortunately, that story changed again earlier this year. As part of a major company-wide restructuring, Ubisoft officially cancelled the remake in January, explaining that the project could not reach the quality level the company wanted despite years of development. At the same time, Ubisoft emphasized that the Prince of Persia franchise itself remains important to the company's future, even though this particular remake will no longer be released. Even though the remake is no longer existing right now, it remains fascinating to imagine what a truly modern version of The Sands of Time could have become. Because the original game still contains ideas that feel remarkably fresh more than 20 years later. Imagine beginning the adventure exactly where every great fairy tale should begin. Not with war, not with explosions, but with silence. The camera slowly moves across Persian palaces, glowing beneath the morning sun. Marble towers all stretched towards the sky, water flowing through these beautiful gardens. That world doesn't rush to impress you, it just simply does. That quiet confidence is exactly what made the original atmosphere so freaking memorable, and a modern remake, no doubt, could elevate it beyond anything the PlayStation 2 was even capable of imagining. One of the greatest strengths of The Sands of Time was always its setting. Ancient Persia wasn't treated merely as a backdrop for action sequences. Instead, the architecture became part of the gameplay itself. Every hallway suggested another route, every broken pillar hinted at another climb, every palace wall became another opportunity for movement. Rather than separating platforming from exploration, the environment naturally encouraged players to keep flowing forward. Thinking about it, modern technology could finally realize that vision all the way through, completely. Every location tells its own story before a single line of dialogue is spoken. Movement itself deserving just as much attention as well. Back in 2003, wall running felt revolutionary because players had rarely experienced anything like it. Today, almost countless games feature that mechanic, but very few capture the same elegance. And that's because Prince of Persia was never about speed alone, it was about rhythm. Imagine every animation blending seamlessly into the next one, a sprint naturally becoming a wall run, the leap becoming a rope swing, the swing then transitioning into a controlled landing. Nothing interrupts momentum, nothing feels mechanical. Movement becomes choreography, players stop thinking about individual button presses because every action feels connected to the next one. I think that's what truly made The Prince special. The time manipulation mechanic remains equally impressive even by modern standards. You see, rewinding mistakes wasn't simply an interesting gimmick back then, it fundamentally changed how players approach danger. Failure no longer meant frustration, as it became experimentation. Like, imagine how much further a modern remake could push that idea. So, long story short, a modern remake could strengthen a lot of those moments through more expressive performances without changing what already worked. Sometimes less dialogue says more, sometimes silence creates stronger emotions than speeches ever could. That restraint helped define the original game, storytelling, and storytelling did the rest. Modern games often overwhelm players with just these countless characters and factions, lots of lore, and a lot of complicated political conflicts. The Sands of Time never needed that. Its story remained deeply personal. It was one man making a terrible mistake. Time itself broke. He spent the rest of his adventure trying to fix it. That emotional clarity is precisely why the narrative continues resonating more than 20 years later. More importantly, many of those ideas would later influence entire franchises, including Ubisoft's own Assassin's Creed. That's why people never stop asking for a proper remake of this thing. This was originally announced in 2020. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time Remake was intended to bring the beloved classic to modern platforms. Following criticisms of its initial reveal and several development setbacks, Ubisoft then transformed the project to Ubisoft Montreal and essentially restarted development from the ground up. For a while, everything appeared to be moving forward again. Maybe that's because some games don't need dramatic reinterpretations. They just simply deserve another chance. Unfortunately, right now, that chance won't arrive through Ubisoft's cancelled remake. After years of delays, studio changes, and development resets, the project officially came to an end as part of Ubisoft's broader restructuring. But that doesn't erase the Sands of Time accomplished. It remains one of the most influential action-adventure games ever created, because it introduced ideas that shaped an entire generation of developers. It proved that movement could become storytelling, that elegance could be more exciting than brute force, that time itself could become a gameplay mechanic instead of just simply a narrative device. Perhaps someday another studio, another team, or even Ubisoft itself will decide that this adventure deserves another opportunity, because great stories don't disappear simply because one project ends. Like the Sands of Time themselves, they have a way of slipping through history, waiting patiently for the moment when someone's finally ready to turn them over once again.